Hello, this video is to help you with the basics of converting units or dimensional analysis. Alright, there's a couple rules that we're going to follow. We have 6 of them. The first one is anytime we have a measurement, we're going to write it as a fraction. That means we're going to put the number over 1. The second rule is make sure all numbers have their units. Alright, the third rule is when we get our conversion factors, make sure that the units cancel out. That means something in the numerator cancels with something in the denominator. Any number that you see on top of the fraction or the numerator, they're going to be multiplied together. Anytime you see a number in the bottom other than 1, they're going to be divided. And number 6, the significant figures for your answer comes from your initial measurement or the starting number, not anything from the conversion factors. Let's take a look at the conversion table. These are known as equivalences. They show how two measurements or two different units equal the same measurement. Notice right here that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, 1 yard equals 3 feet. Those are just a couple of examples. We're going to take those and we're going to build a fraction out of them to help us solve our problems. All right, let's take a look at this problem. If I want to convert 77 kilograms to grams, the first thing is I write my number, 77 kilograms, the number with the unit, and I place it over 1. The next thing I do is I'm going to go back to my conversion table and see how do these two units equal each other. So I come back over here and I say, okay, I know right here that in 1 kilogram that equals 1,000 grams. So I'm just going to jot that to the side. So there's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Now what I do is I make this into a fraction. All right, if I have kilograms on top, I need to put kilograms on the bottom. This is just like in math class, where you factor and you have an x on top and x on the bottom, they cancel out. The same thing happens here at the units, they cancel out. So I'm going to put the 1 with the kilogram and the 1,000 grams on top. My units will cancel, and now this is how I solve the problem. You always start with plugging that number in your calculator, the 77, and anything you see on top you're going to multiply. Anything on the bottom you divide. But notice right here they're both 1s, so we're just going to ignore that. So I take 77 times 1,000 and I get 77,000 grams. And that is my answer. Alright, let's take a look at example 2. Example 2 says, let's convert 87.0 milliliters to liters. Alright, so I start with my number 87.0 milliliters and I place it over 1. Now I have to go back to my conversion table and see how does a milliliter equal a liter, if that is possible. So let's go back and let's see right here. In 1 liter, that is 1,000 milliliters. Now notice right here there's a difference between this right here and this right here. This is megaliters. We're probably not going to use this for a while. Okay, so it's going to be this one down here. Make sure if it's a capital M you use this one. If it's a lowercase m, it's milliliters, not megaliters. Okay, so I know in 1 liter that is 1,000 milliliters. Let me do it like a little m. There we go. So I'm going to build my conversion factor out of this equivalence right here. Alright, so the unit you always want to solve for is generally going to go on top. So I'm going to put the 1 liter on top, and I'm going to put the 1,000 milliliters on the bottom. My unit will cancel out. Something on top cancels with something on the bottom. And now I just have to solve the problem because this is the unit I want right there. So I put 87.0 in my calculator and I move on down the road and I say, okay, the 1 is on top. If you multiply by 1, it's still the same number. And I look at the bottom, it's 1,000. So since this is in the denominator or in the bottom of the fraction, I'm going to divide by 1,000. So I take 87.0 divided by 1,000 and I get my answer of 0.0870 liters. Let's take a look at example number 3. This one's pretty simple. Alright, if I have 12 yards, I want to know how many feet that is. So we should all know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. I need to have to look at that. Let's switch colors. Let's go black. So if I have 12 yards and I place that over 1, alright, I need to build my conversion factor to cancel the units out. So if I have yards on top, that means yards will go on the bottom. And I know in 1 yard that is 3 feet. My yards cancel out, and I take 12 times 3, and I get 36 feet. Okay? Hopefully you're starting to see that this is getting a lot easier. Alright, let's take a look at the next problem. So if I have 1,500 grams, I want to know how many pounds that is. So I take 1,500 grams and I place it over 1. Now, let's go to our conversion tables and see how does grams equal a pound? Or how are they related to each other? Let's take a look. It's not in grams. No, let's go over here. Oh, there it is. Alright, so 1 pound equals 454 grams. So that means 454 grams is going to go on the bottom. So I put 454 grams on the bottom, 1 pound on top, and I cancel out my units. And now I plug in 1,500 and I take a look. It's 1 on top, so I ignore the 1. 454 is on the bottom, so I'm going to divide by it. So I take 1,500 divided by 454. What I'm orb looking for. I think that might be worse, but that's okay. I think you get the gist of things. Alright, and when I get my answer, I get 3.3 pounds. Okay, now when you do this, my number right here has 2 significant figures, the 15, 1 and the 5. These right here are trailing zeros and there's no decimal point, so these are not significant. So whatever your starting number has, I have 2 sig figs here, so my number will have 2 sig figs. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. Now for this one, I'm going to show you a multiple conversion factor just so we can see how that's done. Okay, we have 32.4 centimeters and I'm trying to go to feet. Now when I take a look at my conversion factor right here, I'm going to act like this thing doesn't exist. Even though you can use this, I'm going to pretend this thing doesn't, just so you can see how a multiple conversion factor is done. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So if I'm going from centimeters to feet, we want to figure out, well, what do they both have in common that I can convert centimeters to get to feet? Well, centimeters can be very easily converted to inch, and inch can be easily converted to feet. So we take a look at the conversions, or the equivalents, and we say in 1 inch, that is 2.54 centimeters. And we all should know that in 1 foot, that equals 12 inches. Now, this one is not on your conversion table. It's just assumed that you know this. Alright, so now let's go ahead and let's start. Alright, we do the same way. We put 32.4 centimeters over 1. And now I have to convert. Alright, I have centimeters in the numerator. Got to get rid of it, so I put it in the denominator. And the only thing with centimeters is the 1 inch, so the 1 inch goes with the 2.54 centimeters. My centimeters cancel out, and now I'm left with the unit of inch. I don't want inch, I want feet. So this is just like solving a new problem. Alright, but we're just going to keep on going, just add another conversion factor to this. So I don't want inch, since it's on top, I place it on the bottom. Alright, and in 1 foot, there's 12 inches. So inches cancel out right here. Now, how do you know you're doing this correctly? Well, if you're doing this correctly, that unit should be down here canceling out. This unit will be down here canceling out, and you're left with the unit you want, foot, all by itself without canceling out. That means it's not in both the numerator and denominator, it's just in the numerator. Alright, now we're ready to solve. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with solving this. So we put 32.4 in my calculator. I start by putting that in, and now let's move on down the conversion factor to solve it. Now, 2.54 is on the bottom, so I will divide by that. Okay, and then we can move on down, and 12 is on the bottom, so I'm going to divide by 12. Now, a lot of students make the mistake right here, and they will multiply by 12. Please don't do that unless you're very familiar with using your calculator and parentheses and brackets. If you're not, please do the way I'm telling you to do it, or else you could get the problem wrong. So I take 32.4 divided by 2.54 divided by 12, and for my answer I need, let's see, 1, 2, 3 significant figures, so my answer is 1.06 feet. Okay. Oh, let's do this one right here. Alright, if I have 550,000 inches, I'm going to convert that to miles. Yikes. Alrighty, so if I have 550,000 inches, put that bad boy over 1. Now I got to figure out, well, what can I convert inches to? So let's take a look at our conversion factors. Okay. What was I doing? Inches. Okay, I got to go to miles. So here's the only two things with miles. Well, look right here. Whoopsie. I can convert feet to miles, and we should know that in 1 foot, that's 12 inches. So I'm going to use both of those conversion factors. Okay, so if I want to get rid of inches, that means inch goes on the bottom. I'm going to put 1 foot on top, 12 inches on the bottom. It cancels out and goes away. Now I have feet. I don't want feet, I want miles. So I'm going to put in 1 mile, alright, that's 5,280 feet. And that cancels out. And if you did this correctly, you should be left with the unit you want right here. Everything else should cancel out. Now I just have to do the math. So I take 550,000, I divide that by 12, and I divide that by 5,280, and I get my answer. Now, when we solve it, I need 2 significant figures because there's only 2 in my starting number right here. Remember, this is right here. That's where your sig figs come from. Notice there's no decimal point, so these zeros are not significant. So I get an answer of 8.7 miles. Alright, I think I got one more problem to do. Yes, we do. We got 4.5 times 10 to the negative 5th years, 2 minutes. Alright, if you are not quite familiar with scientific notation, you can rewrite this number as 0.000045. If not, you can just leave it in there if you know how to use that. But I'm just going to use this right here just for simplicity. Okay, so I'm going to put 4. Oh, this is going to be a long conversion factor. So let's pick black. Alright, 4.5 times 10 to the negative 5th years. Now, for this one, there really is no conversion factor on our tables. We have to kind of come up with this. So let's think of, well, how can we break years down? Okay, so a lot of people say, well, I know there's 365 days in a year, and that's a good start. So we say, okay, if years is on top, let's put year in the bottom. In 1 year, that's 365 days. Okay, so now we're into units of days. Now I just got to make days, break it down and get it, whoopsie, and break it down and make it into a smaller unit. So I don't want days. Let's see, what can we convert days to? Let's see, days. I know there's 24 hours in a day. That's a good start. So we say, okay, there's 24 hours in 1 day. Day cancels out. Now I'm left with hours, and we can get from hours to minutes. We know how many that is. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour, so that cancels out. Notice what I did. Years is in the numerator and denominator. Days is numerator and denominator. Hours was in the numerator. And then I put it in the denominator to cancel out, and I'm left with the unit I want right here, minutes. So to solve my problem, or to solve this question, I take 4.5 times 10 to the negative 5th, or 0.000045. I multiply it by 365, because it's in the numerator. I multiply it by 24, and I multiply it by 60. And if you do that in your calculator, it gives you 23.652 minutes. But what is the problem with this one? Well, hopefully you're noticing significant figures. Here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, I only need 2. So I need to stop it right here and see if I'm going to round this up to 24 or keep this to 23. So remember, you look at where you're going to cut it off or round to. Look at the very next digit. If it's 5 or more, it rounds up. If it's 4 or less, it stays the same. And since this is a 6, it rounds 23 up to a 24. So my answer is 24 minutes. Okay, and that's it for today. If you have any questions, please let me or Mr. Kleinschmidt know. We'll be more than happy to help you. Hopefully, if you kind of forgot about this or if you weren't here, you're able to convert now. All right, Be on the lookout for the second video on dimensional analysis with the advanced problems.